We just watched a recent 60 Minutes feature on the dog aging project, and it raises a big idea. Dogs aren't just like us emotionally, they age like us biologically.
So in the feature, the veterinarian says that they're seeing the same diseases like cancer, cognitive decline, and inflammatory conditions in dogs as they do in people. And this isn't theoretical. This is happening in our clinics every single day.
Welcome to Unleash Curiosity by Vital Pet Life.
I'm Dr. Amber De Silva, veterinarian and advocate for integrative pet care.
And I'm Donnie Yamamoto, founder and CEO of Vital Pet Life. We're so glad you're here.
This is a space where curiosity, compassion, and science converge, where we explore the powerful mind-body connection that supports your pet's health and your own.
Each week, we'll dive deep into the world of pet wellness, breaking down myths, exploring ingredients, and learning from expert voices across the industry.
From nutrition and sustainability to transparency and advocacy, we're here to help you feel more confident, connected, and informed in your care choices.
Let's get into it, because when we know better, we do better. This is Unleash Curiosity. Wow. Yeah, Dr. Amber, it's wild because I've been other than just seeing this project or this feature, it just made me think that, we are basically in parallel lives with these guys. We are in the same environment. We kind of experience everything that they are also experiencing, but they're just showing it to us earlier. Get what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah. So the Dog Aging Project is a nationwide study that's tracking tens of thousands of dogs, anywhere from puppies to seniors. And they're looking at the lifestyle, the diet, the environment, the genetics of each dog and, looking for aging conditions and how it parallels to those same conditions in humans.
And why this matters, dogs live in our homes, not labs, and they have faster lifespan. So there's faster insights that, the researchers are getting out from these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing they talked about is, if you were to study humans, humans live decades, normal lifespan, I think, is about 77 years old in humans. So you would have to study someone for 70 years or more, where in dogs, they have a shorter lifespan, they age faster, but that means you can get faster results by studying dogs for, 10 years, 5 years, depending on how old they are when you enroll them in the study.
Yeah. It's like a real world model for human aging.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the researchers talked about dementia. So we see dementia in dogs, just like we see dementia and Alzheimer's in humans. So doggy dementia, what it looks like is a lot of the same symptoms that we see in humans with dementia. So the dogs will be confused, they'll pace around. Some of them get anxious, they get some anxiety because they're confused, they don't know what's going on. Sometimes they won't sleep as well. I've seen dogs that just stare at the wall or they fall down the stairs because they just they start to forget their environment or they get confused about what's around them. So in the Dog Aging Project, they actually looked at dogs' brains after they had passed away, and they were finding some of the same changes in dogs' brains as they see in human brains, humans with Alzheimer's. So that's really, really interesting.
Exactly the same hole, right? Within the area of the human brain and then the dog brain.
So you can see the size of the brains are smaller in dogs and humans with dementia. They have more holes and pockets in the brain tissue. And then microscopically, they have some of the same kind of deposits in dogs and humans.
Yeah. Pet parents often think it's just aging, but awareness really matters in cognitive decline and how the diseases progresses.
Yeah. I think that we tend to forget that dogs can get dementia too. And I've seen lots of dogs with that. And it's sad for the owners, when the dogs are just not behaving like themselves. And, I think we we notice more or we think more about like, heart failure or kidney disease or arthritis. These are all things that are more kind of on our radar, but we forget that the brains are aging too.
Yeah.
And they can definitely get signs of dementia as they get older.
How do we help? I mean, how do we like prevent that from progressing in dogs, Dr. Amber? Is it the same as like is the puzzles like the sniffiries that we talk about? Like does that
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's we've talked about this a lot is like doing all we can to prevent disease and to increase longevity, increase quality of life. And so I think this would, be a discussion of how do we keep them engaged when they're
yeah.
younger before they lose some of their mental capacity, so environmental enrichment, walking, that human animal bond, exercise, things like that. And certainly, even if they're starting to show signs, I think it's super important to continue those things as long as you can. Keep them
Yeah.
engaged as much as you can, as far as, and also like keeping them close to you, petting them, like letting them know you're there. Is really important too.
Yeah. What about cancer and chronic diseases? Like there's an overlap into it, Dr. Amber, as you mentioned, like
Right. Yeah. So we see some of the same progression as far as like chronic inflammation. Cancer is the leading cause of death in dogs. And we definitely see similar pathways for cancer and chronic diseases. It can be, just chronic inflammation, immune dysfunction. So we have basically like our bodies and dogs' bodies, cats' bodies, like are constantly making cells that are abnormal. And with a normal immune system, typically the immune system is going to pick up that abnormality and kill that cell to keep us healthy, to keep dogs' bodies healthy. And so when we have, a dysfunction in the immune system, sometimes the immune system just doesn't recognize or take care of those cells like they should. And so cancer can develop. That's one of the pathways.
that.
And we see that in humans as well.
Yeah, Dr. Amber, we're not just treating symptoms, we also need to understand root causes.
Right, right. Because symptoms, I mean, treating symptoms, it's an important part of keeping a pet comfortable, but to really talk about a cure or a real treatment that's going to increase their quality of life, improve their quality of life, and increase their longevity, we need to get down to those root causes.
Also, dogs are changing research, Dr. Amber.
Yeah. So something they mentioned in the dog aging project is that a large percentage of mouse models, when they use, drugs or they study certain things in mouse models, but it doesn't translate well to humans. And so what they're hoping here is that by studying dogs, this dog aging project will fill some of those gaps. So there will be more overlap between dogs and humans than mice and humans because, yeah, dogs live in our same environment. We have very similar disease progressions. And so the researchers are hoping that not only to help dogs with this, but also translate that to helping humans.
Yeah, I mean, they eat what we eat, they live where we live, and we're also exposed to the same toxins that they're also
Right.
exposed to. So it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, through this project, the dogs may accelerate breakthroughs in human medicine.
Yeah. So lifestyle, Dr. Amber, like it was really mentioned too how empowering lifestyle changes also for dogs and also to humans.
Right. We can't just think about, well, how do we make the brain healthier? We have to kind of take a holistic approach and look at how exercise has a major impact on cognitive health, how socialization, that human animal bond, the environment that they're in, and the diet, all of that plays a role in their cognitive health. Ideally, we would address all of these things to improve the cognitive health and quality of life.
Yeah. I love also about how they mentioned that, the the project helps the future of longevity and prevention in humans and dogs.
Yeah. So they're doing a lot of research into drugs like rapamycin and with the goal of extending the health span, not just the lifespan. So, not just the length of time that dogs and humans live, but improving the health during those longer years.
Yeah, I know. We always talk about like, the being proactive care or proactive in caring for animals instead of reactiveness. So I think based on this project, like, people are also looking about the shift of being reactive to diseases, but at the same time through this study we can be more proactive. And again, we're moving toward prevention as a standard based on the study in not just
Right.
like
Yeah.
helping dogs, but also for us humans.
Yeah. Yep. And we've talked about this over and over that if we can prevent these diseases from happening, then, it's so much easier than not just easier, but like better for quality of life and longevity than, waiting for something to happen, a disease to occur, and then trying to treat it later.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just for the dog or for the animal, it's also for us. They basically how do I say it? Like they basically like feed into our energy, and if you're not stressed
Hmm.
about taking care of them, the more they'll be more happier and probably live longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because we've talked about that too, just how much stress is detrimental to our bodies and dogs' bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what this means for pet parents, for me, I think you have to ask better. We can ask better questions, pay attention to subtle changes, and we can go to the vet when we start seeing signs in our animal or even to us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because early intervention is the key. And we don't want to dismiss any, physical or behavioral changes. We want to make sure that our dogs are healthy and that we can treat something early or prevent it.
Yeah. Our pets may actually help us solve human aging.
And in the process, we can give them longer, healthier lives too. If you're curious about how to support your pet's long term health, we'll keep breaking this down in future episodes.
If this conversation made you think differently about your pet's health, don't let it stop here.
Because what you do next matters.
Hit subscribe or follow and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next episode where we break down how to actually extend your pet's health span. Most pet parents don't realize small changes can make the biggest difference.
Thank you for tuning in. Stay curious, stay informed, and give your pet the longest, healthiest life possible.